How's it going, YouTube? Atheist Chef here. Well, the end of the year is upon us and new things are coming our ways. So I decided I should bring some new people your way. With this YouTube great debate, atheist/theist community, it's getting old pretty fast. We get to see the same faces over and over and over again. And making videos about them, and it just gets old really fast. So, these people, most part, are low-hanging fruit. So, I figure, let's get some new material. Let's get some new people, even if I'm saying some of the same stuff that everybody else sang before. At least get some new faces in here, and maybe, hey, new people in the Google Hangouts, new people in chats. Who knows, right? Let's see. Let's start off with our new friend. His name is Adam Hovey. Hovey? Sorry if I get that wrong. He's probably been here for not very long. He doesn't have too many subscribers. He's got a few videos, so feel free to check out his channel. I'm going to link it down below. And maybe this response video will kind of get him more involved, or if he's more involved, and maybe just because I haven't been involved, he doesn't know, I don't know him. But anyways, I just wanted to respond to this video, so let's begin.
Alright, this is going to be on atheism, because I'm honestly sick of hearing about it.
Well, I think you may need to try to get used to us, because I don't think we're going anywhere.
I do not believe there are more atheists than there have ever been. I don't believe that at all. I just think more atheists have access to the internet.
What? What do you mean atheists are just now, getting access to the internet now? Where were we before? Were AT&T, seeking out the atheists out in the world and not letting them have access to broadband? How does that doesn't even make any sense. Secondly, when Pew does these polls and surveys and whatnot, they have more means than just the internet. They can call you. They can send you stuff in the mail and you send them back. They can show up at your door. And yes, they can get on the internet. So, had there been, a change in the amount of people that are atheists, it's not just because we have access to the internet all of a sudden.
And now we're going to talk about this. We're going to use logic.
With that last comment, you're really not off to a strong start, so I hope you're going to do better.
Believing in God is not anti-science.
Agreed. Fundamentalist, literalist Christians tend to be anti-science. Well, they say they're not anti-science, they just say that science isn't doing science when they themselves don't do science.
God is the creator of all things.
Yeah, I'm aware of what you believe. Evidence would be great, but, you can just say what you believe too. That works.
You understand? I am not a young earth creationist. I am not someone who thinks the earth is 5,000 years old. I know there is plenty of fossil evidence to the contrary.
Fantastic. That puts you at a few steps right above the fundy fucknuts that I deal with on a regular basis. So thank you for keeping up with 2014. Or 2015 now. Well, in a few days.
Now, that being said, I would like to point out the hypocrisy in atheism saying that Christians stole from pagans.
I don't think the word you're looking for there is hypocrisy, because that would be saying that we atheists stole from pagans. I guess you're trying to say maybe we're hypocritical for not being logical. I don't know.
First of all, there is a video. I'm not going to go into detail here. From the Lutheran satire. I'm Catholic, but there's a video from the Lutheran satire that touches on this very issue, and it's actually very good. And by the way, Mithras was born from a rock. I just thought you should know that's not exactly a virgin birth. Like
with Horus or Mithra or, any other god that in the past has said, oh, well, Jesus is a direct copy of this one. A lot of times it's ended up being bad information. There was, very weird translations, or it just didn't really match up. Or like I said, it wasn't really born from a virgin. He was born from a goddess, and this was from a rock, blah, blah, blah. So I agree. There are many times that it's just straight up wrong. However, it can be argued that still there are each little bits of elements that came from one other god that can be said about this god, that can be said about to Christianity. You may not all from one god, but that's just kind of how mythos kind of tends to work. They all steal from each other in different elements of it. That's generally the main argument, but yeah, I get it. We need to make sure that we get our facts straight, because otherwise we look stupid.
How can you test a hypothesis on whether or not God exists if God does not exist?
Again, I agree with you. Anybody that says we can use science to disprove God, they're mistaken. We can't, investigate the supernatural world. However, we can show that our universe doesn't require a God to exist. All of these weird life questions that we're trying to figure out, things like abiogenesis and the origins of the universe, we're showing with science that a God is not required. And from all of the methods that Christians, particularly fundamentalists, have tried to, explain how God done such a thing, we can test an experiment and see that it's false. Now, we can test supernatural things in a sense. We can test the effects of these supernatural things. Scientists can research something and look at an event and just over and over figure out, okay, we really can't explain this one thing. This thing defies everything about nature that we understand, but yet we see that it's happening. Then they can conclude that it was a supernatural thing. It may not directly lead to God, but you can conclude something that's beyond the natural realm. So there are ways that science can test God, or at least his actions, in a sense. So yeah, you're not exactly right.
Have you ever heard of Pascal's wager, which is the wager that if God doesn't exist, it is still better to live as if he does, because there's no reward if he doesn't?
I'm going to let Homer Simpson take this one. Suppose we've chosen the wrong God. Every time we go to church, we're just making him madder and madder.
What is the point of basic morality if there is no God? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Well, maybe I could just go kill everybody that I don't like and their family. But, well, I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me or my family. So, no, I don't think I can do that. You see, we're a societal group of people. We like to live in a society, and we generally like to, we're pretty selfish. We want to live comfortably. We want to live good, and we live good when the society is doing good. So if we make the society grow and do better and thrive, succeed, then we do better. So we have this motivation to do things that benefit the society. So the moral basics are good because they're good for everybody and they're good for us.
The atheist arguments I find to be not illogical, but...
The atheist's arguments are not illogical, yet the name of this video is Atheism is the Most Illogical Position Ever. I'm just making sure I'm not the only one that caught that.
If you believe something like 12-dimension theory, but claim that God is illogical, you should probably reassess your own life.
Are you saying that quantum physicists that support the string theory need to reevaluate their life? Quantum mechanics in its own right doesn't really make intuitive sense, but it doesn't mean that you can sit there and try to equate it with the God concept. They're kind of two different fields.
One thing I used to love learning about string theory. I used to watch the thing on the TV with it. I can't remember the guy's name. Anyway, and I thought it was interesting. I thought it was false, but I thought it was interesting to watch, and I still think it's false. String theory doesn't actually make any sense. And that's the problem, is that string theory is in itself just a theory. Now, you could say a theory of evolution. Well, the problem is theory does not necessarily mean it's disproven, and that's not why, or not proven, and that's actually not why evolution is called a theory, but...
I am not a physicist, nor even I'm a lay person. when it comes to quantum mechanics and the string theory. I don't know where that sits among the physicists on how likely the string theory is true, but there's all kinds of theories that are going out right now. I suggest you probably should look more into that, because if you think string theory is the only possibility, yeah, you're a little bit behind.
I think the problem is that many atheists automatically assume that Christians are somehow these fundamental Protestants, and they lump all Christians together.
You're right. That does happen. A lot of people just kind of don't take the full opportunity to really grasp what the other person's position is. And a lot of times we make that judgment based on their rhetoric. Um, Especially if I hear the words intelligent design, my first thought is, creationist. Here we go. Here's a creationist. And sometimes that may not be completely accurate, but, that's just kind of how the brain works. It's how we do things.
And why is it that the evidence is on me, the theist, to prove that God exists? Actually, since you're the one making the assertion that God doesn't exist, shouldn't you present the evidence that God doesn't exist?
I agree and disagree. I think that when someone that holds the claim that God does exist meets someone that claims that God doesn't exist, they kind of both have that burden of proof, because they're both a positive assertion. So I think if you hold that particular position, then yeah, you're both kind of equally required to.
I have the evidence exists. Life exists that God exists. Life exists that does not have to exist. Now, that's not necessarily convincing of Christianity, and it's not necessarily the world's greatest argument.
That's not even a really good sentence. I honestly don't even know what you're trying to say. It sounds like you're trying to say that life existed. Life didn't have to exist, and because of that reason, now and then that shows that God, it's an argument for God. Well, life is basically proof for life. I mean, if there's anything we understand from science, is that we don't require a God for life. We don't require a God for the explanations that we have so far. So no, if that's your argument, no, not at all.
But why do we need to exist?
Why would you say that we need to exist? In fact, all things considered, there are so many reasons why we shouldn't even be existing right now. Now, even if you say that God, used evolution to get to humans, well, if God used evolution, which is random mutations, which and then guided by natural selection, leading to where we are now, there were 4 types of humanoids, if I remember correctly, and we're the only one that's left. We did not have to exist. Even if you feel that God is, has been described a billiard player that set up the balls perfectly and set up the cue and set up the shot just perfectly so that humans did exist. But still, it does not mean that we were required to exist. God could have chosen to not do that. Your existence is not necessary.
Not only that, why are human beings so much more intelligent than other animals?
Why can't we humans hold 40 conversations at once like dolphins can? Why can't we run super, super fast like a cheetah? Why can't we fly like a bird, or stand or be underwater for long periods of time like the fish, being that our Earth is covered up by 75% of the water? We have intelligence, but there are so many other things that different animals have that we don't have. So yes, we have intelligence, but why didn't God give us all of these really awesome superpowers? I mean, ants can lift up to 50 times their own weight on their backs. That's ballin'. I want to be able to do that, but no. I mean, I'm glad I have intelligence, but so what?
If there's a design, shouldn't there be a designer?
Speaking of really bad arguments,
And I think this is where the problem lies, is so many people are confused about what Christians believe about God. For instance, people are like, oh, The Bible says to stone homosexuals. Yes, it says that in the Old Testament, and actually it talks about homosexual actions, not necessarily people who have homosexual attractions.
I always found this argument interesting because they say that, as long as it's an attraction and not an action, it's okay. But Christianity punishes you for a thought crime. It tells you that it's a sin to lust after a woman in your heart. So why would I think that's any different if a man lusts after another man in his heart?
Alright, peace. Thanks for listening.
Alright, and that is it. That is about 3/4 to 4/5 of the whole video. There are some parts that were kind of repeating and, and stuff I had, already addressed. But feel free, and I'm going to link his video down below. So please go down, check it out, subscribe, say hi to the guy. Welcome to the atheist community. I want to see more of him, just because it's nice to see new people. So that's it for tonight. This is the Atheist Chef signing off. Peace.